Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, that feels good. I love the ovations. Beautiful. But when I hate to worship me, let's see, what do we got here? Monday, March 27th. I should have already known that, considering yesterday was the March 26th version of Walking Dead. Things We Need, I think it was called. I'm going to have to double check that. Anyway, I actually have other people's articles I pull up on my whatchamacallit. And isn't that great? Don't I have such a future in radio when like everything's a whatchamacallit and a doohickey? Let's see. No, something they need, not something we need. Could have been either one. It wouldn't have really made much of a difference. Okay, so spoiler alert. But this all starts out with Sasha. She's in a jail cell, and she's alive. And I was kind of disappointed. I know that sounds a bit dickish of me, but the thing is, it would have been cool if they went into like a scene of her going batshit and killing people and shanking people in the neck, and then she gets killed or at least maimed in some way. No, she looked a little worse for wear, that's it. It's kind of reeking of bullshit. So she goes in and she goes buck wild, starts killing all these, people. We don't know how many people she killed or didn't kill. And what do they do? Hit her in the back of the head with a blackjack or something and just go, oh, well, and throw her in a cell? No. Somebody does that. You kill them. So I don't see how the rest of the scene is plausible because a savior called David goes into the cell. That's kind of how it starts, and he's kind of talking about raping her, giving us a pretty big hint that he's going to rape her. And Negan walks in while he's, about to do the deed there. I think he was just about to start undoing his pants. And he, what you doing there, David? The usual Negan style. And big spoiler, he stabs him in the neck. Hey, we got rules. No rape at the Savior compound. I don't really know if I get that. It's kind of like him being the good guy. And then he tries to recruit Sasha. And he gives her a big old knife because now the guy that he stabbed in the neck is going to turn into a walker. We don't call them zombies in The Walking Dead. Now, I think that's the only word they haven't used to describe the zombies is zombies. So Negan says something I don't understand about, if you kill it, you join. If you kill him, you've joined us. If you don't, you've just given up, blah, blah, blah. You ain't the type to give up. You could have a good life with us. You'll be a great soldier. We could use you. Heard you're a great shot, I guess he said too. I don't remember. Because honestly, when I see Sasha, my brain turns off. Can we get to like the main story already? Because sometimes you take the side stories a little too far. And Sasha is just not interesting. A little bit later in the episode, she starts, a fake, teary voice thing where she's like, I have to die. This is to, what's his face? Mr. Smarty Pants, Dr. Smarty Pants to you, Mr. Head Engineer. Negan with the rape. Then Sasha does a little double agent act. And Eugene, I keep forgetting his name. Okay, so she does a little act. And I don't know if you remember 2 episodes ago, Eugene made those death pills that those girls wanted, but he never gave it to them because he figured out they were going to use one on Negan. And he likes his deal. It's a pretty cushy deal. He's surviving and surviving well. And Negan gave that to him, so he's kind of even a little appreciative, but he feels bad that he's betraying all his friends. So Sasha's like, I need to die. You got to give me a weapon so I can kill myself, a knife, a gun, anything. But she's, of course, wants to just get out and start trying to kill more people and killing Negan, of course. And he gives her the pills, and she gets really pissed off. And that's the end of the story. That's the end of that part of the episode. And it's... Again, Sasha, nothing against her. As far as acting, I don't think. It's just the part is just so shitty. I mean, they didn't really develop her as a person. She was always a flat character, and it's just you see her and you're like, please, just don't try around her now. It's way too late. You can't keep somebody in the background for like 2 seasons and then make them something. It's just boring. It's the same thing with Rosita, so it really isn't against Sasha or her acting. I can't even tell how good of actors they are because it's just like, my brain turns off. So that's my little opinionated little stance there. And I'm trying to remind myself because the basic only other thing that happened in the story is that Tara went and betrayed Oceanside, that we knew was going to happen for like 3 episodes when she mentioned, I know where there's guns. So they need guns. Oceanside's has guns. So they kind of do it so they don't hurt anybody. The old lady is really pissed, Grandma. And she's, if you take away our guns, we're not going to be able to defend ourselves. Is that really true? I mean, they're kind of hiding out. All they got to deal with is like the random walker every once in a while. So they're not really in that bad a way unless the saviors survive. So long term, if the saviors get killed or get disbanded or whatever, they're in a much better way. So that doesn't make sense to me, but it also doesn't make sense to a bunch of the girls in Oceanside. They actually want to join up and fight. If you remember the girl that saved Tara, who looked kind of Hawaiian, and her grandmother looked nothing like her, then you know one of the girls that wanted to actually go out and fight. I know that she said, I'm coming with you. And other than that, there's just a little bit with Maggie getting more and more popular at the hilltop, and Gregory wants to kind of stab her in the neck at one point, but a couple of zombies show up. It becomes obvious he's never dealt with one before. And really, that's about it. There's really nothing to this episode. It's basically just more setup, as the last few episodes have been since Rick and company made the decision to resist. So it's, as far as the shows go, not so much fun. As far as like thinking about the finale, that's something better. I saw a coming attraction. I don't know if this is the one they played during The Talking Dead. I didn't stay up to watch it. But there's a coming little snippet of the next one that I caught online, where they're basically manning the wall at Alexandria, and Negan shows up, with a good chunk of army. And it looks like they're pretty much going to be outnumbered no matter what until one of their allies shows up, like the Kingdom. And, of course, there was also kind of a shot of all of them all armored up, looking for a fight. So I think they're going to be the ones to come in and save Alexandria. I think Oceanside is probably just going to have some people from Oceanside. Hilltop looks to have a little bit better of a contingent than it's had in the last few weeks. I think it started off with like a dozen people. It's now a couple dozen. Not so big of a deal considering, but when you're, you take a bunch of communities and put them together, especially the big communities like Alexandria and the Kingdom, and of course now we have the Junkyard people who are in like the largest community in the entirety of the show. Now you're talking about quite an army, and there's probably some sort of generaling, because that's what Rick does. Rick is not really a leader in the Maggie type sense, or really any of the other leaders we've seen. He's really more of like a Roman general, and that's what he's really good at. He thinks that stuff up. He figures out how to beat the bad guy. He doesn't always win, but enough of them survive that they can go on and go kick ass on some other bad guys. So he's, to me at least, is more the Roman general, and there are plenty of kind of more political people like Maggie that are going to kind of lead, be president of Virginia or whatever happens after this. I don't read the comic, so I don't know further into it. And I don't want to read the comic because that, ruins the surprise a little bit. And as far as this episode's going, I didn't see too much online with people referring to the comic anyway. Looks like it's just kind of following it along, and nothing big and spectacular happens until like the final showdown, which is the season finale next week. Over there on AMC, I have Xfinity Channel 47. So we'll see next week what happens with the whole finale, because he's probably going to, kind of have some sort of communication with the other people and, line it up so that like one comes in from a right flank, that kind of thing. Because like I said, he's more of a general as far as like going forward with this. And fighting other humans, that's going to be more his talent. He wasn't really meant for a lot of the other places they kind of tried to put him in. Like being mayor of Alexandria. Nah, not really him. Stuff like that. I don't really remember any more particulars, but I just remember him being in those positions a couple times. It didn't just really work. It just didn't work for him. But that's the thing. Every government, they need somebody to lead the military, and they need like a commander-in-chief, like a Maggie, who's just like really on the ball. Somebody who could be like a commander-in-chief, but has a dependable general, like do the general stuff. And that's kind of the dynamic that's going to happen. One of the things I did kind of skim, here's another little spoiler from the comics, is that they don't kill Negan. We'll see. It ends up that him and Rick become kind of chess buddies, and they talk about like strategy and stuff like that. But they don't actually end up killing Negan because they need him, because he knows kind of the bigger world going on around. The reason that they're the saviors is they're actually protecting Alexandria from another group. I don't recall what that group was called, and they may not be called that anyway. And then they're going to have to kind of fight that group. So kind of from here on, this season, it's really been more about fighting other people. It's not about like, giant herds of walkers and stuff like that, unless they're being used as a weapon by other people. Now, I actually been reading like a series of books, if you're like Amazon Prime. By the way, the Amazon Fire, really crappy. It's just really twitchy. There's all sorts of like advertisements pop up on your lock screen. It's a really kind of like a $99 RCA type of thing that they just kind of optimized for that. I don't think they even use like a real browser. They don't use a mobile browser, or they use something called Silk, which is pretty shitty. So let me take a look at something there. There's this group of books I've been reading that actually has my zombie books, and it's, like I said, free with Amazon Prime. I should be able to at least bring up one of the books on my phone here, which I'm sitting outside using. And what do we got? Dun, dun, dun. V Plague by Dirk Patton. Oh, there's a fake name for you. Dirk Patton, writing military books, and he chose the last name of Patton. How interesting. But these are these kind of like dime store novels that are kind of fun to read. I actually kind of read them a little too much. I'm always kind of, because of my back and some other things, I lay down a lot, and I grab my tablet, and I'm hanging out with it, reading like these dime store novels. But they're fun. You know, there's a little bit of a twist on the zombie thing, and mixes it more with more of a conventional war type genre. So that's a little recommendation from me. And when I get up my website, I'm going to definitely have like a little Amazon store where I have books I recommend, and not, just zombie books and entertainment. That's just one of my shows. But like the alternative educational resources that I've used to get the kind of education I have that I'm trying to give to everybody else. So it's going to be hopefully something that you won't have to buy a Kindle for, because these things really suck. Yeah, you can tell I don't work for Amazon. But there is, I think it's a good deal to get Amazon Prime if you have something with, because you could put your Kindle on any Android tablet, and a lot of them are going to work a lot better. And, because it's really kind of useless to Kindle tablets. That's my little review of that. So, of course, it's a finale, so we'll see what happens. I mean, it would be kind of nice if they don't totally win, like really easily. Do a little suspension of disbelief. And that's about it with that. But something else came out this week I actually just saw for the second time. Rogue One. Now, a lot of people, if you're like me, you don't go to see things in the theaters. It's really rare because like everything is accessible without the theaters. It just comes out like a month or two later, so who cares, right? I'll tell you right now, you're probably going to spend about $20 to buy, because at this point you have to buy Rogue One. And I went through my Roku and looked through like every service I could find. I ended up with Fandango now, and they'll give you the movie for $20, which is about the same price as everybody else. So I got it there, and it's it almost feels like an episode. It's a 2-hour long episode, like a finale episode of some sort of Star Wars like TV show. It doesn't really. There's great eye candy. It is a compelling story. And at the end, big spoiler, turn me off if you don't want to hear it. At the end, pretty much the whole crew that goes to find the Death Star plans, I'm sure you know by now that this is all about that, they all die. They sacrifice themselves to send that transmission. And then you kind of go into A New Hope. For you Star Wars, aficionados. Star Wars, A New Hope, the subtitle. The first Star Wars any of us ever saw. And you have a blockade runner, and it's being chased down by Darth Vader in his Star Destroyer. And there's kind of a scene where they hand off the plans to Princess Leia. And you can tell it's like a different actress made up to be like her. I wish they would have used more of a CGI thing, because it just didn't work out too well. You can kind of tell, and it's kind of, and the actor is, wearing a lot of makeup, and it looks kind of freaky. But it was kind of cool. All right, like they have all these little tidbits, like when the Rogue One crew kind of takes off. They steal they had stolen like an Imperial cargo craft, because one of the guys who sent the message was a cargo pilot from an Imperial cargo pilot. So they take that craft and they load it up with like a bunch of troops that just like volunteered to help out. And you actually see R2-D2 and C-3PO in the background. as they take off. I think it's that, or when they take off. Well, you know what? I won't spoil that one too much for you. But yes, R2-D2 and C-3PO are in it. You see like a bunch of people from the cantina, in a certain area. So there's kind of like that kind of nostalgia with it. But it goes much faster than the 2 hours it's supposed to be. Like I said, feels a lot like more like the 2 hour finale of Star Wars, before Star Wars. I think it's worth if you're a fan of Star Wars, definitely worth seeing. There's going to be some connections to it. So it's like one of the things that I kept doing was looking like, and which one of these is the big bad guy in the new movies, right? Is it Director Brennick? Is it Admiral Larkin? Tarkin. I mean, like that kind of thing goes through your head. But other than that, it's just kind of like a cool episode, a bit cartoony, in the way that it just kind of flew by. And, of course, there wasn't really that much character development or anything like that, because it's just a typical, just, lots of action scenes kind of movie. So, yeah, I say go give that a gander, maybe when it comes down, and you can actually rent it. I bought it because I'm probably going to watch it a few times because I'm a geek. But unless you're like that, wait a little bit. Get it for a little bit cheaper prices, like, an HD stream. I definitely suggest the HD stream because it's pretty. The effects are pretty awesome. Okay, so this is kind of a pretty short one. Just wanted to kind of feel what's going on with The Walking Dead. I happened to see that Rogue One came out this week on most of the cable services, so I gave that a gander. And, of course, I look forward to any of your interactions. Have a good one.